Hey guys, it's Ethan from Zimmer Labs, and today's video is going to be on this Ro Lightsaber Kota Force Unleashed that I got from Avery. He sent it in to have an upgrade to breathe some new life into it. This was a really old lightsaber. Might even have been a version 1. There's probably been like 5, 6, 7 versions, releases of this from ROM over the years, but this was old. It originally had a plastic pommel, a plastic main power switch, and it had no chassis of any kind inside. It had really old antiquated soundboard, a speaker, a battery, and a rumble motor wrapped in electrical tape with some packing peanuts in there to kind of hold things in place. And you know what? That's how we used to do it back in the day, before chassis were even really a thing. That's how lightsabers were made. So Avery wanted this upgraded to Neopixels. He wanted a Proffieboard, smoothswing, and all the other awesome stuff that the Proffieboard does, but he was on a tight budget, so we had to get creative and cut corners, but not in a way that sacrifices the lightsaber. So I'm really happy with how it came out. Got a nice weathered to match metal pommel now instead of the plastic one. We've got recharge 2.1mm switchcraft recharge port here with a twist to activate kill key that you can also remove. I personally... Are you done? I personally don't like to leave these in, because even if you have the twist to activate, if you hit it with your thumb or something while it's on and you're messing with it, that might be enough to reset it. So you're better off just pulling it out, unless you're in, at a party or at a con or something like that. You don't want to risk losing your kill key. But if you're at home or whatever, just pull it out. I did a new button, also weathered to match, with a custom flush fitting bezel, so that everything kind of matches up with the saber itself. And I did a little work on the the blade plug. This is the set screw here. Now this guy, when Avery sent it to me, it was just this aluminum bezel here and this kind of polycarbonate bullet tip, and nothing else. And it had an in-hilt LED that kind of shone through it. But I wanted to retain this blade plug as part of the new lightsaber because it's cool looking. And obviously the aluminum machining was really well done. So what I did was put it on my mill, and I opened up the inside sufficiently so that the polycarbonate blade piece could be slid into the aluminum facing here. And then I epoxied it in so it's permanent, and put some Neopixels, some diffusing material, and a blade connector on there. So now this is just a little mini Neopixel blade, which mates up to the pogo pin style connector in there, TCSS connector, and lights up really well. The whole bullet tip really acts like a lens for the light, and looks really good. Now the next thing that I did that was something new, not necessarily new, but new for me, was because like I said, we were on a budget and I didn't want to skimp on effects, but putting another button, putting an auxiliary button into this lightsaber would have been a lot more work, a lot more time, a lot more labor, a lot more money. So I thought this would be a good excuse for me to try out the one button modifications that a lot of different people have done. So thanks and props goes out to Daryl John Donato, aka Dat Boy over there, who did the one button programming that I used on this. And it's a simple matter of taking a config file that Daryl made and substituting it into the Proffieboard operating system and renaming it, and then the whole the whole OS, the whole operating system runs completely differently based on having one button, where it would, as opposed to what it would in a standard configuration of 2 or 3 buttons. But it does everything, which is really cool. You don't lose any functionality with only having one button, where in the previous setup and in olden days, if you only had one button and you didn't have an auxiliary switch, you would lose all sorts of effects. You know, no blaster block, no lots of things, but this is just really creatively done. So basically the way it works is one quick push, just turn it on. If you hold it and smack something, you get a blade lock up. If you point it down, hold it, smack, you get a drag tip. If you hold it and twist, if you hold it and release relatively quickly, you get a force effect. If you hold it for like 3 seconds, that turns it off. If you hold it for an almost long press and release, that toggles to the next blade. So one quick press is blaster block, and then audio player is hold and twist. Well, theoretically. The other way to do the audio player is with the blade off, you hold and tap. Same for starting and stopping. Another thing I did with this saber is I wanted to kind of broaden and upgrade my audio tracks, because that was one area where I really hadn't put a whole lot of effort up till now. So I spent a lot of time over the last few days tracking down some really good quality source material and ripping and sampling and creating new audio tracks. So I got some vintage vinyl LPs, or not LPs, but you know, vintage vinyl, and ripped them onto my computer and then sampled them down to a format that the Proffieboard will play. So we've got some really excellent new audio tracks here. That was not actually one of them, that was one of my originals. I think that's from Clone Wars. This guy, my favorite. This is sampled from a 4K episode of The Mandalorian. One of my absolute favorite Star Wars tracks. Reminds me of like a Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, a Clint Eastwood Western soundtrack mixed with Star Wars. And it's just so perfectly done. It's absolutely the perfect theme song for the show. I won't play the whole thing, because you guys know what it sounds like. Some drum and bass. This is your standard rebel music. If you're hanging out on Tatooine with your, you know, binoculars and riding on a bantha because you can't find Luke, or maybe you're on Hoth and it's getting really cold out, this is your music right here. That was actually off an old vinyl, A New Hope, I think. It might have been Empire Strikes Back, but it was ripped off of vinyl, which is really cool. That too was ripped off of vinyl. That's from a TIE Fighter scene ripped off of vinyl. There's your opening credits. That is from a really long piece that I think is from Rogue One soundtrack, which is called the Vader Suite. Just a section of that, because it's like 25 minutes long, but my favorite part of it. Imperial March. That, I think, was from Clone Wars. Got some prequel stuff. A great song. Duel of the Fates coming up, I think. Yep. Can't go wrong with this. And it's really cool when it's mixed with a really good sound font with really good smooth swing, and the effects. The whole thing just plays so well, and it's so much more realistic. I think we're back to the beginning. The other thing I haven't mentioned yet is, actually, let's pop her open real quick so you guys can see. If I haven't mentioned it yet, originally when I got this from Avery, this was really out of date. It had a plastic pommel with a kill key right in the middle of it, and then once you got that off, there was speaker, battery, a really old sound card, and a rumble motor, all wrapped in electrical tape with some packing peanuts kind of in between each item to kind of hold them in place. And that was it. No chassis, no nothing. And you know, that's kind of okay, because that's just how it used to be. I mean, we didn't always have chassis. And back in the day, that's how people assembled a custom lightsaber. Nowadays, we're lucky enough to have all these really cool 3D printed chassis. So that's what I did. I used this Goth 3 Designs. I think this is a 1.24 inch just universal chassis. It might be something just for a Graflex. It might be like an 89 Sabres Graflex chassis, but it's something I had extra, and it was a perfect fit in this. So we're going to cover here. There's two brass rods that hold the cover on with a Proffieboard underneath. USB is right underneath here, so you just basically take a right angle USB plug and plug it in. On the flip side, 18650 battery with a easy pull tab, and then micro SD card access is right behind that. .28mm. I have to get rid of that boot sound, that's obnoxious. 28mm premium bass speaker. And then you say, what's this funky antenna looking thing going on here? This is the rumble motor that I mentioned earlier. This is something that I've always kind of thought about doing, but never actually done, mostly because I thought it would be a cool idea, but it probably wouldn't work all that well, and it would probably just mess with the sound card. But I wanted to include the rumble motor because it was originally part of this lightsaber, and it did really kind of feel cool. So rather than mount it to the chassis, which would have caused false effects and, you know, clashes and mess up the sensor on the actual Proffieboard, I extended it out with some 3M hot melt so that it is still got some wiggle to it. It's got some give, but it's permanently mounted. but that dampens and isolates the vibrations from the sound card, from the motor, so that you still get the feel of the vibration in the hilt, but it doesn't mess with the Proffieboard and cause it to do false effects. And this thing's really cool. It actually came out way better than I was even expecting it to. As soon as you activate the saber, this turns on, and you program it just like it's a second blade. So the Proffieboard sends out signals to this motor as if this were a blade. So on is on, and then a clash makes it go on even more, so that it ramps up and gets more aggressive if there's a clash or a blaster block or a lockup. Any impact effect will make this motor spin even harder. So you get a constant vibration and then heavier vibrations on effects, which is just exactly what you want it to do, and actually really works well. And so I'm really glad that I incorporated this in there, and really glad it came out well. And it's something that just adds, you know, an extra level of realism to the lightsaber when you're playing with it. You know, it's more alive in your hand. It's really high, it's really vibrating and humming, and you're not just getting audio feedback, but it's audio, visual, and sensory feedback. And that is really cool. Obviously you guys can't tell in the video, but it's really cool when you've got it in your hand. It just feels that much more realistic. Let's see. Yeah, the next thing that I wanted to do with this guy is part of the new operating system, and it's something that I was kind of hoping would show up or arrive for the Proffieboard sooner than later. And a big shout out to whoever did the programming for it. I don't know if it was Frederick or if it was one of the other guys or girls in the community, but the ColorWheel is such a cool idea. Basically, the way the Proffieboard works is you have your blade presets, your blade array, and you could have just one blade, or you can have 15 or 30, whatever blades you want, but each blade in the array is something you independently program and set. So like blade 1 is blue with yellow clash and this and that effect and this, with this sound font and this soundtrack. Blade 2 is green or purple or whatever, and each one is independent, and each one has custom effects, custom colors, custom animations, all independently set for that blade. But you can't, before you couldn't change the color of each blade. It was whatever the color was what you programmed it. Now with the ColorWheel, you can on the fly go into any blade in your preset array and change it to any color in the entire spectrum while maintaining the animation, the effects, the contrast, everything. And it's such a cool idea, and it's simple to do. You turn the lightsaber on, you aim it down and hold the button, you get that sound, and then all you have to do is twist around clockwise or counterclockwise to jump through all the different colors. And then once you find, let's say we want to do like a dark orange, about there, we're just gonna get that dark orange we want, aim it down, and do a long press on there, and now it locks it back in. And here's the cool part. Well, there's a bunch of cool parts, but so you turn it off, you turn it back on, and it's still where you set it. So it's got a memory, which is great. Because if you found, you know, the color that you wanted, and you don't want to have to find it again, it's going to save it for you at least until you do a full power off. But the other cool thing is all the effects that you program into it, all the effects and the colors of the effects are hard programmed for each blade. But with the ColorWheel, it actually adjusts the effects proportionally, so that even when you change color, so like if you had a red blade, you might have a blue, white, yellow blaster block effect, so that the contrast and the effect would be really visually obvious. But if you had a blue blade, a blue, white blaster block probably wouldn't be all that obvious because it wouldn't be a different color. With the ColorWheel, when you change the color of the main blade, it actually adjusts the effect colors as well, kind of, you know, in the color scheme and in the, you know, the frequency of colors to kind of opposite end of the spectrum and to retain the actual effects and the contrast of the effect, which is really cool. There's your blade lockup. And as you guys can see, that was like yellow and green. But originally this blade was, I think it was a yellow blade to begin with. So it would have been a blue, white, and red blade lockup, not yellow and green. So the Proffieboard did that on its own. Hush! I'm doing a video. There's a blue or a cool color blade. I'm gonna aim it. Actually, we'll do a blade lockup. And as you can see, that's white, orange, and red in there. I'm gonna aim it down, color wheel it, and we'll change it to yellow. Lock it in. Now we'll do a blade lockup again. And look at that. That is white, green, and blue now in the blade lockup. So the Proffieboard is smart enough to adjust not just the blade color, but all the corresponding effects with it to make them work, which is awesome, fantastic. I don't know how they programmed that. Stroke of genius, but really well done. And the color wheel on the fly color changing is so simple. You just aim it down, hold the button for a second, release. You get a sound, a tone that tells you that color wheel is active. Twist. Once you get the color you like, press for 1 second, release again. It locks it in. That's it. And that's about it, really. Just really impressed with the one button mod that Daryl did. The new operating system is kick-ass. Lots of new features. Avery, let me know what you think. Obviously, your opinion is the most important part here. And I hope you guys, Avery, I hope you like the new soundtracks. And I guess I'll quickly run through the blade so you guys can see what she's got on it. I'm going to go ahead and reset it just so we're back to blade 1. So blade 1 is nice bright blue. Blade 2 is deep sky blue. Blade 3, cyan. Blade 4. This is a cool blue, almost on the white side. Next up, we've got a pulsing cyan blade. Electricity blade. Turbine blade that goes yellow to blue. Blue fire blade. Nice magenta blade. Bright green. Nice bright yellow. And then it goes red, fire, and that might be it. back to the beginning. So that is the Kota Force Unleashed, refurbished, upgraded, and back with a bang. The only thing really left to do on this guy is to tie this little doohickey back on. Goes around here somewhere, but that's not my kind of thing, so I'll probably let Avery deal with that part. Avery, let me know what you think. Everybody else, thanks for watching. If anybody has questions on the one button mod, needs any assistance, I'm happy to help. Or the color wheel, or any of the new elements of the new effects with the new OS 3.9. And stay tuned, I've got a whole bunch of good stuff coming. Lots of new sabers to build.